He was nice. Stan got me hooked on freaking, was it Hopadillo?
The Hopadillo.
So good. So good, so good, so
This is
good.
just that Blue Moon mango, but it's
Oh yeah, they do have a mango. I forgot.
it's tasty.
And are we live? It's saying loading. I don't know. Welcome, 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 welcome,
Hey
welcome
now,
to,
hey,
welcome. Hey, hey, hey now.
I'm just your resident Beetlejuice, you know.
I'm just
How's it going?
how's it going, guys? What's going on, everybody? Welcome to.
Yep. I
Oh,
think
I didn't
we're
even put on the freaking the thing. What episode it was? I don't. What episode is this? What just Hold on. I don't even know what episode it is. Crap. I don't even know my own channel. Shit.
it's that episode with the number and the thing.
Yeah, I like telling
That's
people
all
how
that
many of.
actually matters.
I like telling people of how many what your stories I've done. It's kind of a thing. Hold on. Hold please. Do that. Episode 9. Welcome to episode 9 of What's Your
Welcome to
Story.
Nepisode 9.
Episode 9.
9.
I have a very special guest here today. You guys have seen him around from the green room. You might have seen him last week on the Ohmies covering for me. One of the people covering for me and Swaggins since we were traveling. I got the Angry Hippy himself, Mr. Sean Typhon. What's going on, man?
Hey, it's a good day.
Yeah,
I actually
it's a
had a
great
Saturday.
day.
I didn't have to work.
Yeah,
I've had a nice relaxing day.
there you go.
It's good.
Having a weekend off finally is kind of a nice thing.
Yeah,
It's kind of
you
gives you a break just gives you a break of life,
outstanding. I mean, I got to spend some time with my family over here at Vapor Image last night. That was fun. Love catching up with those guys. So, it's been a good weekend so far.
That's awesome, 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 awesome. So why don't we do the dang thing, and why don't we see what you're vaping on, Mr. Sean? What are you vaping on today, sir?
Right. Well, if you guys watch the green room, then you already know I do this thing. I call it the focus button because that's how I make my camera focus. So focus button, boom, slam. I'm keeping it. Oh my God, the focus button failed me today.
Faulty
There
focus.
we go.
There it is.
There
it
we
is.
go. I'm just rocking the Unicorn, Just Right edition with the Unicorn RDA. Loving my super match game here because my drip tip is that same exact acrylic as the button.
I love that color.
This has been my favorite setup I own. Not just because it's a banging vape, but also the story behind it. Shout out to my Stewges, because this was a Stooge blessing. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I would get a chance to get one of these. And the Stooges took it upon themselves to make sure I did. So shout out to all of my family in the Stooges for making sure that this became a reality, because it is literally my favorite vape.
That's awesome.
And in that, I have to have my favorite liquid. So I've got my Skipper Milk Pie from Primitive Vapor Company.
It's sitting in the drawer steeping.
These guys do something amazing. Buttermilk Pie was an award winner by these guys. They teamed up with a local company called Vapor Jerry's, who's no longer even a company, and combined their award-winning peanut butter to make Skipper Milk Pie. And it's a perfect blend of a Southern-style buttermilk custard pie and peanut butter. I can't get enough.
I know
of
they
this.
have a couple other pie ones.
They're out of the buttermilk pie series. There's a berry milk pie, the buttermilk pie, and I believe there's another one or two that are hidden in the vault waiting to come back out.
The berry milk pie would definitely catch my interest.
Oh my God, it's a strawberry buttermilk pie. When I first vaped it on the Ardent, my immediate response was, it was like vaping sex. Point blank. That's how good of a vape it really was. That flavor I knew inside and out already. And when I hit it on the Ardent, it was home run.
Yeah, man.
Outstanding. But yeah, I'm keeping it simple. So that's really all I've got for today at this time.
Well, I got some new stuff to show off. The mod's not old, new, because you see me guys rocking it all the time. But what's on top of it is I got my Black Copper Dreamer with the Rebirth RTA, and guys, holy motherfucking shit, I am literally speechless on this RTA. I can't get over it. I don't even know what to say when I'm vaping this thing. It literally it raised the bar of how I feel with RTAs. I'm still kind of experimenting with RTAs since I made it like a goal of mine in 2019 that I'm gonna get into RTAs more. I've been all dripping usually, and this RTA gives me like I'm vaping a dripper. It gives me that style of vape. No dry hits, no nothing. The wicking, how it keeps up is unbelievable. Like after you take that long, like hard drag on it, you just see like the bubbles just blurp, blurp, like no hesitation on it whatsoever. And inside of there, I got some lemon fraise by LeBanger and OPMH. I kind of broke the child block on there, so now it just looks like the unicorn cap, but it's just literally a nipple. But it's just easier to pull off now.
Aha!
Kind of got rid of the child proof of it, but the stuff, if you guys like strawberry lemonade, you guys better go pick this up. This is, I don't know if it's available on independentvaporcompany.com. I'm not sure, but if you ever had the opportunity to go find lemon fraise, do it. It's fantastic, and it's like a perfect summer vape. And then next, I got my white electroplated dreamer, Dead Goat, with I think this is the Ghost. I don't know. There's a lot more colors than the Ghost, so I don't know if it's the Ghost. It's one of Jess Marie's tips. I don't remember the name of it, but DHD tips are amazing, and the chop tops are perfect. And inside of there, I got the little bit I have left of my Rounds Apple Kiwi.
That'll be gone by the end of the show.
I've been destroying this bottle. I think when I went to Houston, the bottle I think was like up to here, and by the time I finished Houston, it was like down to here. It was like I just annihilated that bottle. I don't know what it was. I was just vaping on it like nonstop. And then my setup that I got new at Houston. Big shout out to Deathwish Mods. I talked to the guy over there. He's a great dude. I've messaged him a couple times. Me and him have been talking on and off, but their product is just like hands down some of the best I've ever used. I've become like a giant Deathwish Mods fanboy, and I had to add another one to the collection. So I got my infected mod series 2700, 2650, and 18650 with the Death Trap V2 on top. He put a freaking huge, like 6mm ID coil in there. That's I tell you the truth, it's vaping awesome. It's like ohms out to a 0.47, but on a series, it still gives me that warm vape. And you would think with that big of a coil, you're gonna get ramp up time up the ass, but
not with 8 volts.
It's vaping fantastic, and I'm just loving the power from it. I love my series mods. I love stacks. I love anything series, and it just gives me what I enjoy. And inside of there, I don't know if he's watching, but I got to give a huge shout out to my boy, Uncle Chris, with his vanilla custard. It's just fantastic. I love it. Amazing. And especially in a hot build.
I understand. As you can see, this is all I've got left of these 2 bottles.
If you guys have the opportunity to try this stuff in a series or anything like hot, I recommend doing it because it just makes it that much better. So
yeah,
this stuff is fantastic. Can't get enough of it. And do I have anything else? Oh yeah, I got something else here. It's not vape related, but I'm just gonna show it off like it's a pod system. I got my Tenacious Tater upside down, but I got my Tenacious Tater. The Tenacious Tater. I'm gonna put like a freaking pod of something on there and make it seem like I'm vaping it when I'm not. But whenever I do my buffet, I'm always gonna show the Tenacious Tater now because it's a fucking Tenacious Tater and Stan's a dick and I love him.
That is so gold.
Because he decides to. So should I tell the story? I think I should tell the story.
Please do. I mean, it's great.
So, as you all know, you guys have probably seen now. Me and a couple of the Stooges and some of the Supreme Stewges were down in Houston for Vape Showcase, and we decided to stay in a trap house, which I think there was adult films filmed there at one point, where many females probably got impregnated too. I don't know. It was very sketchy. We called it the Roach House just because it was bugs and hugs, and it was just crazy. And to be honest, it was awful, but the way I look at it, if the house wasn't awful, we probably wouldn't have had some of the memories that we made in that house. So if it was like a nicer house, we would have probably been not the same. And so Stan decided to be a bully to me over the weekend. in like, okay, first of all, when we were at the show, he accidentally punches me in the face. And then when we were back at the house, he was flicking around that Zippo pod that he was showing off last night. And he was like going back and forth with it, and the pod actually flew out and hit me in the face. And then, like from across the room. And then we were all intoxicated doing a juice review for Vape Wild, which you're probably not going to see it unless you're part of the Discord, because you might end up showing it on the Discord at one point. So that gives you a reason to actually join the Discord, because you might actually see that pure demonetized gold. Well, okay, screw you too there, honky horny. Okay.
Yeah, that a testament to the neighborhood I live in.
I'm walking here, kid.
Yeah. Mind the cat.
It's just a shopping cart just in the middle of the street. What?
Literally. Probably.
So, when we were doing that juice review, we were all very heavily intoxicated. And Stan gets all pretty girl when he's drunk. And decides to jokingly punch me in the gonads. And then hysterically laughs about it afterwards. So what he decided to do was, he was like, you know what, for me being such a bully to you over the weekend, I want to send you something as like a token of my appreciation for your just being like, I call Stan the big brother I never wanted, because he's literally like a big brother to me. It's some of the way we act towards each other, it's just funny and it's just ridiculous at times. So in my head, I was thinking, okay, he's sending me something as appreciation for me, just us being good friends. I was thinking, maybe I'm going to get some cool vape mail. So I was getting all pumped up. I was like texting him, like, do you know when that's going to be here? I don't know what's going to be here. So my mom tells me that the mail came in late. So I was thinking, oh yes, I have something excited to go home to. So then I get the package, I open it up, and I see this box. It just says, you're never going to guess what's inside. And inside of the box is when things got interesting. So,
yeah, like I guess my comment earlier in the chat is perfect. Let's get weird, because exactly when you open this box, shit definitely got weird.
I get a potato with Stan's face on it, with him making his creepy face. I get a stress ball potato, which actually might come in useful, because whenever I talk to Stan, I might just get angry and squeeze it. And I get like a little Ziploc baggie full of candy, which I'll definitely be eating the candy. And there's a sticker in here. I don't know where the sticker went, but it's a sticker that actually shows the company who did this. The company is actually called Potato Parcel, where you can actually get a hold of them. They actually, if you send them like an image or something, they actually print it out and put it on a potato and send it to whoever you want. And so Stan decided to send me a potato parcel. And yes, like James said, tenacious tater. So it wasn't what I expected. It was like the biggest troll thing I've probably ever encountered in my life. But it was probably it made me laugh so hard, and it gave me like the biggest what the fuck just happened kind of thing. But
yeah,
in the
full
end,
disclosure, after you got that, I looked up the website. I needed to check this out.
It's an actual
there are
thing.
a lot of options of how and what you can put on a potato and send to somebody.
Adult rated stuff you could actually put on the potato.
I mean, there's an option to put a full color photo, not just a face, a full photo on a potato. So I mean, you could do a lot of weird things by putting a full photo on a potato. I'll leave you guys all to imagine the opportunities of what you could do.
It's a picture of a French fry on a potato.
You know, a picture of a potato with a picture of a potato on it.
A picture of a potato with like with a Peter on it. You never know. Just
yeah, you know, it'd be a dictator.
It's a dictator. I love it. So that's what happened to me. That's what I got in the mail this week for. It's not vape mail, but it's just Stan troll mail. So I think that was a cool little thing to share off. So why don't we get into why we're actually here? Why I have you on the show? You obviously from viewing a lot, you know why I do this. I bring people on so they can tell their story of how they got into vaping, to kind of hopefully inspire others to kind of get off their ass and try to. I just want to inspire people to do more. That's one of my main goals with this channel, and I've really come to enjoy the Saturday show that I do with I bring on random people. People who aren't even in like the YouTube game and everything. I bring them on because I want to, like, I had Uncle Chris on, but the first one kind of went to shit, and he took over the show, and then the second one turned out good, but and still audio issues. So hopefully my audio is doing okay. As far as I haven't heard any complaints, so we're good. And so let's get into why you're here. So first of all, I always ask when I do this show, how old were you when you first started smoking, Sean?
Oh God. So I first picked up a cigarette. I mean, you know, my parents smoked when I was real little. So I'm sure I like picked up a cigarette then and maybe stole a drag or something, but you know, we're talking about an age that you don't fully remember as an adult. Mm-hmm. But like my first active picking up a cigarette, I was 12 years old. I can still remember I had this friend, and we had this old man in the neighborhood who he just constantly chain smoked. And to the point that he would get to like the local general store, he would be 5 feet from the store, he'd still light a cigarette. And then he would drop the cigarette once he got to the door and go in, do his shopping, and then come back out, light a brand new cigarette. So this friend and I had realized that, oh shoot, we can pick those up and just smoke them. So we did. So I mean, that was my first smoking a cigarette of any kind. But I didn't fully become a smoker until probably 14, when I developed a habit where I was actually actively trying to smoke as many cigarettes as I could smoke in a day.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. That's, you hear it all the time, and it's one of those things where you notice that people who started smoking, a lot of people started smoking from a very young age. Of course, the age is usually before the legal age of you being able to smoke. And it just shows that, to me, no matter way you look at it, when it comes to vaping, when it comes to minors getting a hold of cigarettes, alcohol, anything, that if a kid wants to get their hands on it, they'll find a way. So
absolutely.
So with all the with everybody, all the government saying like they're trying to protect the kids, everything, all these regulations they're coming out to try to protect the kids, they're not going to work. They're not.
I mean, I was a rebellious kid from a young age, and I had parents who smoked when I was growing up. By the time I became an active smoker, my parents weren't smokers anymore, but it didn't matter. My earliest memories of my parents include cigarettes in their lives.
Yep, same here.
So, the fact that when I became a smoker, they had already been long since quit is neither here nor there. I was raised in a family that smoked. My grandmother smoked for many, many years. My parents smoked. So it was an acceptable behavior to some extent, even though I knew that it was bad. Mm-hmm. And the rebellious nature was there. You know, I grew up, I was born in the late 80s, born in 1987. I'm 32 now. I grew up watching an era of media that smoking was still allowed. You think about it nowadays, the bad guy or the good guy, none of them smoke cigarettes in today's film and TV. But in the early 90s, that was common. The good guy or the bad guy, the tough guy, always had a cigarette back in the early 90s. And I wanted to be that guy. That was, growing up, that was the world we lived in, right? We wanted to be G.I. Joe. We wanted to be, Mr. Commando. We wanted to be that cool dude who was riding a motorcycle with a pack of cigarettes rolled up, smoking a cigarette. Like, that was the era I grew up in. That was
back in the day. Smoking cigarettes was cool.
Yeah,
like, it was promoted that all the badass people in the world were smoking.
Absolutely. I mean, it's messed up to think. And I mean, okay, in our parents' era, in the 50s, cigarette companies were using children's characters to market their products. I mean, you can go on YouTube today and see some of the old, like, Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble pitching Winston cigarettes.
Like the old Camel commercials when they had that Camel.
Yeah, I remember. I own a Joe Camel cup. I think it's in my basement right now from like 1990. So Yeah, I definitely remember Joe Camel. But yeah, that's the era we grew up in. So naturally, as a kid, I wanted to smoke.
Mm-hmm.
That was what all the cool people did, you know?
Yeah, definitely. So, how long did you say you smoked for? Like, would you say the time of?
Oh man, it was over 15 years.
Okay.
It was definitely over 15 years. You figure from the time I was 14 till about 29, I think, was the age I was when I actually finally successfully quit. And I say successfully quit because, like so many of us, right, I had dabbled in all of the other stop smoking techniques.
Mm-hmm.
I'd even successfully quit for a brief time with hypnosis. Um, Hypnosis was the only thing that worked for me before vaping. And that was, interesting to me because I can still remember the day after hypnosis, waking up and being like, I would go smoke a cigarette right now, but I don't want to.
It's a really interesting avenue that some people try to do because people always think that hypnosis is like it's a cash grab. It's a kind of way for somebody to make money on the side and like try to like use like psychology to brainwash somebody.
So here's the thing, right? For those who've never actually actively participated in a stop smoking hypnosis isn't hypnosis by your typical idea. When we think hypnosis, we think of the carnival act. Guy waves a watch in front of you, and poof, you're a chicken.
Like one of
oh
those
my gosh,
spinny things where it's like never ending.
Yeah, that's not what's happening. Really, what's happening is it's a guided meditation, and so he calms you, and he really gets you into a very calm, meditative state. And then from there, he puts suggestions into your mind. And I still remember him talking about the fact that when you thought about tobacco, you would think about the disgustingness of tobacco. Um, you know, the tobacco farmer rips the tobacco plant up by the root and it gets stacked in a barn to dry. And while it's stacked in that barn, bugs and rats and mice are crawling through it. And when everything gets collected by a machine, sometimes those bugs and rats and mice and things, they go into the shredder with your tobacco. And now as a smoker, you're smoking rat fur and all of that, and rat droppings and urine and all of those things that are on the tobacco. And that literally became one of those things that when I thought about tobacco, I immediately associated tobacco with that. And so it's really a unique process. The problem is that because it's suggestion, when you make a conscious decision to smoke again, you become a smoker immediately again. You pick up where you left off.
Hold on one second. Hold on, my dog's being a pain in the ass.
Sure.
Hold on.
But that's the thing. So I made the decision to smoke again, and that's where I failed. If you decide to make that decision and you choose to pick up a cigarette again, then hypnosis fails. I made that mistake. I thought I was drunk. I was mourning the loss of a family member, and I thought, well, shit. You know what? This cigar won't hurt me. And then the cigars turned into cigarettes, turned into me being a full-time smoker again. Mm-hmm. And that was where I failed there. Okay. And that was the beauty of vaping, right? It was that it provided me what I looked for. The family member I lost from lung cancer, mm-hmm. from smoking. So how hypocritical of me to be mourning the loss of somebody I lost from lung cancer and being drunk and thinking, well, I'm going to go smoke a cigarette because I'm drunk and I'm sad.
The thing is with smoking, doing it out at a bar or something when you're drinking, I don't know what it is, but it's so satisfying when you have alcohol. I don't know what it is. It's the weirdest thing.
Absolutely. Alcohol, people say marijuana is a gateway drug. Hell no. Cigarettes are a gateway drug, followed by alcohol. The two of them play a wonderful hand-in-hand relationship. And, it's crazy because one can lead you to the other real fast. Oh, yeah. I remember working and managing a gas station, and the number of customers I'd have that would come in that didn't smoke Monday through Friday, but Friday night, and they went to the bar, they'd come buy a pack of cigarettes from me, and it would last them all weekend.
Yeah, it's crazy because, like, say if it's in the middle of summer and you are sitting outside and want to have a drink and you see somebody smoking, you're always interested in that. You're kind of being like, okay, if you've never smoked before, and then I want to maybe try this out. I've never done this before. Let's give it a try. Because you're not thinking straight because you may have alcohol in your brain. So you go that, and that creates the gateway to cigarettes. Alcohol can create the gateway to cigarettes, and it could be vice versa. Cigarettes can be the gateway to alcohol. You never know. It's one of those things.
Absolutely. I agree. And yet another interesting parallel to that is that I also would have customers that, this is back in the era when we had what do they call them, hookah pens?
Yeah.
It's a crappy e-cigarette with,
like those old Volcano e-cigs.
Yeah, like
the ones that you have to order from China and you have to wait like 4 months for it to get to you.
But I would have customers who, because they never wanted to smoke, they would turn to that, or they would come buy a blue e-cig for the weekend because they were going to go drinking with their friends, and they knew that they would want to bum cigarettes and they didn't want to smoke cigarettes, so they would buy an e-cig.
Like back in the day when they still called it water vapor. That's something you haven't heard in the vape game in a long time.
Oh! I heard it last night, actually. It's fun. It's funny to me just how many people still don't understand. 10 years of this technology existing on the retail market for an average consumer to go experience. And I'll tell you what, the general public still is completely unaware of what's going on here.
Yeah, it's one of those things to where you would think with the technology we have to use nowadays, people would use it to kind of research different things. You've noticed that stuff is getting popular on the news. Obviously, vaping throughout the years has gotten a lot more
computer.
Yeah, vaping
in our pockets
has gotten a lot more popular. You've seen it around your local areas and all that stuff. So, as an reasonable human being, I would assume that somebody will want to research what's going on in their local area. If you see somebody using something that's different, you'd want to get to know about it because eventually you might get yourself involved with it somehow, some way. You may not be using it, but you may have where like you find one, or you're at a bar and you have a friend that leaves one there and you want to know how to, like, I don't know if I should leave this in my car or something, or how should I handle this, because it's something new. You want to know what you're handling and what you're dealing with. So you would think a normal human being would go out of the way to research things. Obviously, with all the stuff going on in the world right now, that's not the case. No, people don't want to hear it. People always are believing what the multimedia is telling people about what vaping is. And obviously, the truth isn't getting out. It's one of those things to where us as a community need to do a better job at informing the non-vapers, the non-smokers. We need to kind of inform people what vaping actually is and not have them listen to what the media, the lies and the propaganda they're spreading to the world. Because look what fucking California just did. Look what San Francisco just did. What? I can go off on this. I really can.
I mean, we're
gonna go way offhand with this, but I feel like it's necessary.
San Francisco is one thing because San Francisco is a city, and so all right, cool. You know what? You want to be tough, guys. You want to ban the sale of a product. Fine. All right. You're a bunch of idiots because everybody's going to the next town over that can possibly do it to buy their vape products. And otherwise, people went back to smoking, and you just told them to go fuck themselves.
Do you know what perfectly describes the people of San Francisco? Have you seen that South Park episode when Kyle and them moved to San Francisco? And
no, I haven't.
They're literally, the people living there are just a bunch of wampy-pampies driving electric cars and literally sitting there smelling their own farts.
I can see that.
It kind of makes so much sense, to be honest. Like, Tim and Eric, the guys who make South Park, may have been onto something of the people that are in that area because they kind of sitting there smelling their own fumes and don't know what actually is going on in the real world.
So, I mean, but like, what's scarier than that, and this is something I'm sure a few people have heard me harp on other shows, is Vermont.
Yeah,
because the state of Vermont effectively banned vaping without banning vaping. Because they put a Tobacco 21 law into effect. They banned all online retail sales of vapor products. And they put a 92% wholesale tax.
The funny thing is they did that all overnight.
Right, all at the same time.
Everything came out of fucking nowhere. Left field, and everybody was like, whoa. Gave nobody time to prepare. No companies out there any time to get their lobbyists together. It was insane.
My whole argument with all of that is that, like, okay, wholesale tax. Why? Because we want money. No, you don't. Because you put a prohibitive operational tax onto a business. So what's 92% of nothing? Nothing. Because all you've done is made it completely impossible for anybody to vape in that state. Because you made it impossible for the vape shop to continue to sell products. You made it impossible for the consumer to order products online and have them shipped to the state of Vermont. All you've done is continued to keep the cash flow of tobacco rolling in the state of Vermont. And might I remind everybody, that is the state that fucking Bernie Sanders is from. The people who think that he's going to be some great savior of America, this guy just let that shit slide in his own state. That is government overreach on a level that is Orwellian. And for the young folk who might not know what that means, I'm talking about George Orwell's 1984, a book about a dystopian future where the government completely controls everything we do and say. And that's literally the state of vaping and we're watching it happen. And it's so goddamn infuriating because we, as the YouTube hobbyist community, we're out here preaching this shit. And
nobody
we
listens.
Can't get enough people angry enough with us to actually get involved.
That's what the goal is here. We're trying to show people our passion in this because we want other people to show their passion too. We're all normal human beings. We're all regular people. Why can't regular consumers and these trickers or these vape models out there show the same passion and not sitting there freaking blowing O's and showing off their fucking tits and ass?
I mean, literally, to bring it all back to the whole... People can show
passion on making money and just showing skin. Why can't they show passion on something that actually matters?
Literally. I mean, it's like to bring it all back to the point of the show, right?
Yeah.
Like the what's your story? I got into vaping as my way out of smoking through advocacy.
Yeah, because you got into vape advocacy before you even started vaping.
I mean, I was dabbling, but I hadn't been committed yet. And it was a friend of mine who reached out, this was back in 2016. He was really concerned about the deeming regulations going into effect. He was really concerned about seeing the Cole Bishop Amendment pass.
With the whole August 8th thing.
Wanting to change the deeming regulations and everything. He reached out to me because he knew that I had done some film work and I had done a lot of advocacy work and he wanted my help. And so I met up with him and I went down to a vape shop with him in Rhode Island that he really loved. It's a shop known as Sunshine Vape. I'd love to plug those guys any chance I get. If you're ever in the state of Rhode Island, they have a couple of locations. And those guys are honest individuals who do a lot for the vape community as well as advocacy. And I have nothing but respect for those guys. And so they invited us into their shop. We shot a video. It's still probably on the internet called Behind the Clouds, where we had these guys break down a vape device, what an atomizer is, how it works, what a mod is, safety, all of those things, dispelled some of the myths. And our goal was that we wanted to make it bigger, that we really wanted to really dispel the stigma of vaping. Because for those of us who remember 2016, as the deeming regulations were coming up, a lot of people thought that all vaping was with these giant clouds and the cloud comp type thing. People didn't understand the safety of vaping, the fact that this was harm reduction. I don't even think most of us as vapors completely understood the fact that this was actually harm reduction yet. We just kind of knew that it had to be better than smoking.
Yeah.
But that whole experience is what convinced me to commit, because I heard some things from these guys that really blew my mind. The fact that, you know, there was all of this evidence that these ingredients were safe, that the FDA had approved all of the components of an e-liquid as being totally safe for a human to consume, and yet as a combination it was somehow a bad thing. That didn't make sense to me. That didn't jive, just as a smoker and somebody wanting to quit and trying vaping. That didn't make sense to me.
As a reasonable human being.
Right. I mean, you're telling me that propylene glycol is okay to inhale in an inhaler. You're telling me that vegetable glycerin is okay to inhale in that sort of scenario. You're telling me that nicotine's safe to inhale by itself without smoke. And you're telling me that these flavoring agents are safe to consume. So what's the fucking problem?
Exactly. They're turning around on everything they said. Remember what Stan showed last night? I don't know, no, you didn't watch this too, but Stan played a little clip of what Scott Gottlieb said during an interview. And, what did he say exactly? I wish I can find that video. Everything's a little hazy. I started drinking last night, and then, yeah.
I wasn't even here. I mean, I was working an event last night, so I still have to watch the whole thing.
I want to go back and find it and try to share that link around a little bit, because it just shows. Since, yeah, it's just one of those things where the FDA is so two-sided and like so far up their own ass.
I mean, the FDA is currently recalling tons and tons and tons of heart medications because there's tons of dangerous problems with it. Mm-hmm. And it's an FDA-approved medication.
And we're going to trust them on what regulations they make?
Yeah. And yet we shouldn't use a tried-and-true tested method to stop smoking. We should use Chantix, the new product from
that causes
Pfizer.
People to commit suicide, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's mind-boggling. But that was what got me involved in vaping to begin with, was realizing that I was completely turned around by this, that holy smokes, this makes sense, and I get why there's a problem with people vaping. And I too wanted to be a part of that solution. And so I dove in. And I dove in head first.
And on that same note, since you got involved in the vaping by advocacy, what was that setup that got you to pretty much be able to make the switch? What was that key setup? They were like, yep, I can do this. I don't need to smoke anymore. And let's get on with the vaping game.
So I worked at this gas station, and there was this Chinese company called Phase Vapor, and I had tried a lot of their products, their clearamizers and things like that, and they weren't quite cutting it. Mm-hmm. And eventually our shop picked up a sub-ohms kit. It was basically their clone of a Atlantis tank, okay, and their clone of an E-Leaf 30 watt. And so I tried it, and it was kind of working, but it still wasn't quite enough. And the friend of mine who had enlisted me to help him in this video project was like, your problem is you need more power. So he set me up with a Tesla 100-watt box mod. And that was when it started to work. And I was still dual using at the time, but I began to realize this is going to work. And then eventually I upgraded, and it was there was a local vape shop. They were a vape e-liquid manufacturer first, known as Beantown Vapor. A lot of folks have heard me talk about them. They decided they were going to open a brick and mortar shop finally. Mm-hmm. And it was up the street from the shop I worked in. So I went in, and they talked me into buying a Cleto. And by putting their liquid Soul Custody in the Cleto, I suddenly started to get it. And I went, okay, I got this. This I can do. And I started really decreasing my cigarettes. And strangely enough, it was the combo of a Wismec RX200, the original RX200, And that Cleto with Naked's Brain Freeze, because I was always a menthol cigarette smoker.
Same here.
And Naked's Brain Freeze, those two were what did it for me. And a few years ago, I left that gas station job to go become a delivery driver. Mm-hmm. So I was driving around delivering library books. It was a great job, but it gave me an opportunity to smoke. So I can remember having like the last cigarette in the pack and having the vape and in that dual use phase. And I remember it was this spot called Marston Mills, and it's a little town on the Cape in Cape Cod in Massachusetts. And I had stopped, I had made my stop, and I hopped into the van and I thought, all right, this is the perfect time. I can smoke a cigarette between here and my next stop. I'll be good. I lit the cigarette, I pulled out, I started driving down the road. I take my suck and drag and I go, this is absolutely disgusting. I'm getting my nicotine and I like the taste of what I'm vaping far more than I like this. And I threw that lit cigarette out the window, and that was that. I was fully loyal to the coil from there on.
Loyal to the coil. I really like that.
And at this point, I'm at basically 3 years of no cigarette, just vapor. It's definitely been 3 years of my beginning of my journey for sure. I know that for a fact, but I believe it was in the month of September when I actually threw that cigarette out the window and was like, I don't ever need a cigarette again. I am loyal to the coil. Vaping is my way.
That is awesome. I love that saying. I don't know what it is, but loyal to the coil, that's something that should be on t-shirts. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. That's fucking...
Yeah, wait for it. It's going on. It'll be on the Angry Hippy merch site next week. I promise.
Do it. Hell fucking.
But yeah, right. Like that was it. Like that was that moment where I was like, this is it. I'm loyal to the coil. This is what I want to do. I want to vape. I mean, I remember at the time I was still heavy into Facebook, and I think I actually made a post that was like, I finally understand what this cloud chasing thing is all about. I get it.
Yeah,
holy shit.
That realization to where you get that feeling of not needing a cigarette anymore, and you're sitting there like, I never thought I'd feel like this.
Not just not needing a cigarette, but looking at it like, I despise that cigarette. I much prefer this thing. And it might not be a tube mech. It might be your pod system. It might be, your 2 or 3 battery or 4 battery mod. But the fact that it was this vape device that I was using, this little electronic thing, this e-cigarette, whatever you want to call it, this electronic piece of technology, far superior than this antiquated cigarette now. Forget this, that. What a break! What a break!
The realization is what gets me the most. When I remember that realization to where not needing it anymore, and you're just sitting there looking at it like, I spent so much money on cigarettes back in the day, and you're sitting there like, if I would have found this technology 10 years down the road, right before, right in that pre-age of starting smoking, think of how much better your life would have been. Think of how much.
I know. I had friends who were already like I got this buddy of mine that 2-3 years before I was vaping, he was already on box mods and drippers.
Mm-hmm.
And if I had gotten into it then, when he had, I can only imagine, the difference I could have already had at that point. Because at that point, I was still a hip hop artist.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the longevity I could have had on stage, the breath control, all of those things that I had sacrificed to smoke cigarettes like an idiot, it's mind-boggling.
Yeah, it still amazes me, and it's still a crazy thing. It's kind of just like, I always go back and think about it once in a while, like that time where I wasn't a vapor and how when I was a smoker still, and just kind of looking back at my life back then and then looking at it now, it's just seeing all the differences, feeling the differences. it just still blows my mind that a government wants to take something like this away from us. It's it's like I'm not surprised, because it's the government. They have an agenda. They have their own way they want to do things, and none of it involves caring about the public. We've seen it in the past. We've seen it. We're going to see it in the future. History has shown how much the government does not care. So when you think about this life-saving technology comes out there that was created by the consumers, for the consumers, and the government's not making money off of it, and you're seeing that people are not spending as much money on something that the government is going to make money on, they're realizing that, okay, we now put this to an end, because all the money, because we all know this by now, that the government makes money off the unhealthiness of the public.
It's a tough pill to swallow, but the thing is
it's a crazy thing that the government makes money off people dying.
This country is built on tobacco money, point blank.
Yeah.
When you think about our founding fathers, a lot of them were tobacco farmers. That's how they made their money. This country is built on tobacco money. So over the course of our recent history, the last 50 to 80 years, tobacco health control has become an issue. And they've had to balance the income that tobacco money makes with the image of health and tobacco control. So for the longest time, everything has worked smoothly for the system, because you've got tobacco money for the tobacco smokers. You've got pharmaceutical money coming into the system from these stop smoking aids, which we already know are not effective. And then, of course, the pharmaceutical products as well that help treat the illness, as well as the stop smoking aids like Chantix. So for the longest time, that system has worked, and it's been uninterrupted for decades. And then what happens? A consumer-driven product comes along that shatters the system and starts getting millions of people off of cigarettes and not directing their money through the pharmaceutical industry. So, shit, what do we do now? Because our tax dollars are being affected, because we're not getting the tobacco tax money anymore. And our pharmaceutical dollars and our stocks are hurting because they're not using these FDA-approved pharmaceutical products to get off of smoking. So now what do? Well, we're going to have to demonize the thing that people are using to stop smoking. And that's exactly what we're in the process of dealing with now. And the trickiest part of all of this is that it's a scenario where it gets a lot worse before it gets a lot better. Mm-hmm. So what you're seeing right now is the beginning of that getting a lot worse. You know, shout out to Breeze Tones, because I know he's one of the people who championed this phrase, but 2019 is the year of the uprising.
Yep.
Absolutely. This is the biggest shitstorm this industry and community
has ever seen,
have had to deal with. And it's only going to get worse from here. And that's why it's such a battle cry for so many of us to get people involved, because it's about numbers. Here in my state of Massachusetts, I was heavy into the cannabis activism and trying to end cannabis prohibition. And it took almost 30 years for this state to finally listen to what one organization had to say. So you're talking about 60 plus years of prohibition before this organization in my home state even formed, and 20 plus years of their constant activism before they could start to reverse the hearts and minds of the people to change their opinion and change the laws. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're up against. We're up against changing the hearts and minds of the people who aren't involved. Because that's what we had to do in the cannabis world. We had to say to people, look, I don't care that you don't smoke pot, but you shouldn't care that I do. And that's where we're at now with vaping. We have to teach the people who don't smoke and don't vape that I respect you for not ever smoking. I made the mistake of smoking, and I found a way to get myself off of smoking that worked. And so it feeds the physical addiction of this whole thing, the hand to mouth issue, the having to do that repetitive action. That's what this does. This is an adult pacifier now. That's exactly what this is. At this point in my life, I don't need the nicotine. I can vape zero nicks if I really have to. But this is an adult pacifier because it satisfies this action for me. And I need that. I need 5 minutes to step away.
Yep.
And feel better. It's a controlled breathing exercise. If you take the act of smoking or the look of it from vaping away, what is it? It's taking 5 minutes away from whatever's going on in your day and allowing you to breathe. That's healthy.
Mm-hmm.
That's totally a healthy thing to do. And
absolutely.
What's the big deal that I've got 3 milligrams of nicotine while I do it? I mean, I consume more caffeine in my daily cups of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
People drink 18 Red Bulls a goddamn day, and no one's balking at that.
Yep.
No one thinks twice about that.
And there's a Starbucks in every other street corner.
Right. There are children at extremely young ages consuming dangerous amounts of caffeine that is extremely bad.
I see like 12, 13-year-olds sitting there with cans of Monster. What?
That is not good for their health. That is bad for their developing brains, just like nicotine. Just like nicotine. But no one's fighting caffeine.
No.
Because caffeine's following the proper pay channel. And we're not. That's what this all has boiled down to, isn't it? We didn't follow the proper pay channel.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the beer industry can have Lucky Charm branded beer, but we can't have Fruit Loop flavored friggin' e-liquids without somebody having a goddamn conniption fit.
Yep. It's just...
I know, right?
It's draining,
it's
man.
Ludicrous.
It's hard to understand. It's hard to grasp. It's hard to wrap your brain around. But...
You know, and that's how I became to be who I am in the vape world.
Mm-hmm.
Was recognizing that this is some fucking bullshit, and I had to be somebody to fight it.
Yep.
And
you don't have to be the biggest somebody, but as long as you're doing something.
You know, and that's why, you know, a lot of people who watch the Green Room see it. I'm a huge fan of Shane Oakley because he said on our show one day that just because it's not here at my door doesn't mean it's not going to happen one day.
Exactly.
And that's exactly what it is. You know, there are plenty of places that aren't facing flavor bans right now. There are plenty of places that seem like they're not going to be affected by vape restrictions. But let's face it, if California as a state manages to ban, say, the manufacturing of vapor products, a lot of your favorite brands are going to go away.
Yep. A lot of the stuff is based out of California.
New York has a manufacturing ban that they're looking to pass. And if you do that, a couple of my favorite brands are going to disappear.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm not okay with that, especially when I'm personally friends with one of those manufacturers. Mm-hmm. And I'll be goddamned if I don't do my part to protect his investment.
Yeah.
Not just as a consumer of his product, but because I'm his friend.
You're protecting their livelihood.
And that's the thing, is like
stuff that puts bread on their table, what feeds their kids.
Right. I mean, everybody knows Vinyl and Vapor who's watching right now. Every last person in this chat knows Eric, Vinyl and Vapor. We've all built that bond with him. If New York were to pass a manufacturing ban, that takes away one of his revenue streams. And probably one of his most lucrative revenue streams.
Mm-hmm.
As his friend, I can't stand for that to happen, let alone as somebody who loves vaping. And that's why I fight.
Mm-hmm.
It's why I do the shows. It's why I am the angry hippie. I won't stop being the angry hippie until this shit stops.
Exactly.
Because I'm angry, god damn it. This should not be a demonized technology. This product saves lives. I'm living proof. You're living proof. Every viewer here on the channel, all your followers, all of my followers, we're all proof that this technology saves lives. And you know, it's tough because we all get apathetic, right? We get to that point where we're like, well, shit, I did this last week and I did this the week before and I did this last month and I'm going to sit this one out.
No, you can't.
But we can't anymore. We can't because there's so few of us fighting that if even two of us take a break, it's two less voices being heard about it. And we can't afford it right now.
The way I look at it, too, is imagine people standing on top of a mountain and they're standing on top of the mountain screaming. Take two of those people away. The less you can hear.
Exactly.
Take more people away, the less you can hear. The more people that have the mindset of, oh, I'm going to take a break, the less voice, the less sound that gets out there, the less amount of people that are going to be able to hear this stuff is going to be out there. And
look at Chuck. Chuck has tried to not be the NorCal sick boy image.
That's just...
And he can't because just like me, he's still too fucking angry to let it go.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the goal here, right? It's to get people fired up. You know, I've said it before to people, there's a fine line you have to walk because you get too militant about this stuff and you drive people away. But at the same time, when you walk that fine line just right, you get the people fired up. And, you know, like I think about the gun community, and whenever like a state wants to start taking gun rights away, and how the whole gun community just rallies within itself to protect one state. And so, you know, Michigan wants to ban a gun, and people from Massachusetts and Connecticut and Rhode Island and Wisconsin, like everybody's coming together in their gun community like, oh, no. We're going to speak out.
Nope, we're not doing this, yeah.
But like in the vape community, it's tough. We're like, well, that's Wisconsin and that
doesn't affect me. Yeah, I'm all the way over here. That's not going to affect what I do. No.
But that's it. It does affect what you do.
Yep.
Because what about the vape manufacturer in Wisconsin who happens to have, you know, a mod that you like or an atomizer that you like?
Mm-hmm.
What about him? What about that one-off small-time e-liquid manufacturer who, yeah, he's got, you know, a deal with a co-packer, and so, you know, sure, you think his e-liquid is coming to you from this, you know, from California, but the man from Wisconsin is going to lose his license for his business because you didn't speak up against Wisconsin's problem.
Yep.
You know, like I get it. It's a lot, but we got to try to do as much as possible now because there's only a few of us doing it.
If we don't do something, then we're going to end up...
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
No, that's why we're here.
If we don't do something, then we're all going to fall. And if there's nobody else fighting, nobody's going to be there to pick you up. You're going to fall down.
I come from a place that fucking snapped over taxes about tea.
Yep.
The Boston Tea Party. No taxation without representation. We said, oh, really? You're going to tax us on tea? Well, fuck you. No tea for anybody.
Yep.
And we can't get that kind of fervor anymore.
No.
Even in our own community. And that's why I'm here, to fire people up, to rant about it, to come on shows like What's Your Story and tell my story, to let people know that I came to it to protect vaping and fell in love with it. I initially didn't think I would become a hobbyist vapor. I thought I'll vape, quit smoking, and be done with it.
Mm-hmm.
Vaping became my life to the point that I remember battling the whole issue of, do I want to be a vape personality? You know, like, do I really want to let myself do that? But then when people start coming to you because they respect your opinion or they want your advice on something, how do you turn that down?
Yeah,
you know, you can't. And then from that to to take me to the places it's taken me. I had the opportunity of, doing all of those things to being a customer in a vape shop and the guy behind the counter saying, hey, listen, my buddy has a vape shop. You should probably go talk to him because I think you'd be a perfect fit for his shop. And getting hired, getting promoted, becoming the manager of a vape shop, managing that vape shop, being able to grow from that into my ability to do what I do now as a YouTube personality and as an Instagram personality. None of that would have happened without vaping. And I mean that in the most sincere way. I know Poon Sauce was there on the very first Texas Vape Chili when I told the story. And I'll just kind of paraphrase it tonight, but I went through a really tough part of my life where I started second guessing myself, and I really stopped looking at myself as being capable of doing anything. And if it weren't for vaping, I never would have found myself again. But having involvement in this community made me become me again and helped me wake up one morning and say, dude, you can do this. You can be that person that you used to be and that people see in you. What kind of a gift, is that? I've met people who have overcome severe anxiety disorders because of vaping and become vape models, have gone on. Some people don't know this, but one of the people who was responsible for the early years of NVE, that this individual had a severe anxiety issue, and through vaping was able to beat that and then become a vice president at the National Vape Expo.
Yeah, it's just
what an amazing gift. Mm-hmm. A lot of our favorite companies are built by former addicts who turned their lives around through vaping because they wanted to stop the destructive behavior in their life. So they went from doing dope to going to rehab to quitting smoking with vaping to wanting to give back to the community and start vapor companies. Some of your favorite vape shops, some of your favorite e-liquid companies, some of your started by addicts.
Yep.
What an incredible community that we're built off of, the people who have changed their lives for the better.
Yeah.
Through this.
It's an amazing thing.
Through this. Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't we fight to save this?
Couldn't have said it better myself. So why don't we change it up a little bit? Why don't we do a little thing that, if you guys have been watching, that I've had a giveaway going on.
White cotton.
And I think we should give those people who took out the time of their day to actually go on my videos and comment #DunkleCroy. So what I got right now, I'm not going to screen share it or anything because
#DunkleCroy for life, folks.
Because apparently OBS doesn't like screen sharing with Zoom. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to show it, but I have a randomizer up. I had 4 people who entered this giveaway. I had Lethal Coils, Mr. Chris himself. I had Texas Cloud Town Jay, Mr. David Moyle, and then Logan Exhales entered. So I have the randomizer up right now. And so
I love all 4 of you for
these 4 people have the opportunity.
And I also love all 4 of you in general, but I love all 4 of you for entering the contest.
These 4 people have the opportunity to win an RX 2700 and an iconic RDA. Fresh out of the package.
The RDA alone is worth the contest. Never mind getting the mod as a bonus.
Yeah. And so I'm going to do it on the third one. So I'm going to do randomize, and then on the third one, we're going to find out the winner. So here we go. Randomize. Okay. Done.
Drum roll.
Again. Okay. And then finally, this is for the winner. Mr. David Moyle. David Moyle is getting a full setup. I don't know if you're watching right now, but if you're watching, get a hold of me on Instagram. Give me your info. I'm also going to need a copy of your ID just to be safe. Just show me a picture of it showing that you're of legal age, and then it'll be gone. I just need to make sure you're of legal age. Don't worry about shipping. I will ship this out to you.
Photos of yourself with an extremely long white beard.
Yeah.
I suppose will count.
Right. So, get a hold of me. Send me your info and everything that needs to be done, and I will get this mailed out to you because you're deserving of it. Thank you for participating. Thank you everybody who participated in this giveaway. The 4 of you. You guys are good friends, and you guys are the reason why I do this. So, congratulations, David. Congratulations. That's awesome. And so why don't we, let's see, I think we have some news before we sign out to share with everybody.
Shit.
So
you're gonna tell them what's in the news, Spoon Sauce?
So the past 2 weeks, you guys have noticed that I haven't done what's in the news lately. I've been kind of thinking about some things, and I liked what it was doing. I liked what I was doing with what's in the news, and I felt like it needed to go in another direction. It's not changing at all, but I came to realize that doing that kind of show by yourself, it's difficult. It really is. It was putting a strain on me. It was getting me stressed out and everything. It was just kind of the preparation for it wasn't the kind of...
Takes the fun out of it.
Yeah, it takes the fun out of doing a stream and kind of just being able to interact with people and all that kind of thing. So what I decided to do, what's in the news is not going away, but I am deciding to add somebody else to the mix. I am now going to have a co-host for what's in the news, and conveniently, you're actually sitting here talking to him right now, because starting Wednesday, Sean Typhon is going to be my new co-host for what's in the news. I'm really excited for what the future has to come with this. Me and him, when we talk about advocacy, everything sinks in together because we bounce off each other with different ideas, different things that we both have different ideas and different kind of explanations of different things. And
as you guys saw tonight,
yeah, this was like a teaser of what is yet to come.
Yeah,
so,
it's a natural fit. Like I mentioned, I'm the angry hippie because I'm angry about the state of vaping, and who better to team up with when it comes to an advocacy-based show than my man, Mr. What's in the News himself. I mean, it's a natural fit. I think that this is going to be a great opportunity for both of us. Myself, I recently just shifted gears on my channel and dropped e-liquid reviews to go strictly advocacy myself, because doing the rant videos is what I like to do. And I really just want to go and lay into it. And if I got to go nuts and scream at a goddamn camera and be a fucking animated psychopath about it because it makes me that angry, that's what I want to do, because that makes me happy, and I'm genuinely honored that you would bring me on, because I really have a lot of faith in what the two of us can do together.
Definitely.
I look forward to it, guys. I can't wait to see everybody on Wednesdays now.
That's going to be fun. So
it's going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to hit people with a lot of knowledge, because everybody knows I'm a nerdy bastard. I get deep into it.
Yeah, we're going to talk about some things, and we're going to kind of get tinfoil hats on at times. It's going to be wild, but I'm excited for the ride. It's going to be a fun ride.
I appreciate Mike the Vaping Ape. He says, "Fuck yeah, I'm watching that." Yeah, we appreciate you, brother. Because shout out to Mike the Vaping Ape, guys. If you haven't checked him and AO Vapes out on the Vape Corner, I love those guys, because that's a great example of two guys who are almost polar opposites. They see eye to eye from time to time, for sure. But I love the banter between the two of them so much. If you haven't had a chance to check those guys out, I want to give a chance to plug them. Mike the Vaping Ape, AO Vape, the Vape Corner, Monday afternoons. Go get a look at that. You're going to enjoy that. It's some great content.
Definitely. Well, guys, that's all we have for you guys today. So I'd like to thank everybody in chat who stuck around. This was a little bit longer of a What's Your Story than usual, but I wouldn't have had anybody else do it with. So thank you, Sean, for coming on. And, of course, you guys are going to start seeing him a lot more on this channel. So be prepared for that. Hold on to your butts, because it's going to be a wild ride, and I'm excited to have him along for it, and I'm excited for what's to come and have you guys be a part of it as well. The news just got a whole lot angrier. Hell yeah, it did. So again, thank you everybody for stopping. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for coming in and hanging out. Thank you, Sean, for doing this. I'm really excited.
Always a pleasure, brother. Thanks for having me.
So guys, just fucking, I don't even, everybody says it. Let's just fucking keep vaping. Come on.
Yeah, you know,
that's all we need
to do. Keep on vaping.
Yeah.
Ooh, that got a little spitty.